Welcome to Herbally Yours, an adventure into the world of natural medicine. Here is your host, Dr. Ellen Kamhi, the natural nurse who will help you take the leap to ultimate wellness.
Greetings, and thank you for joining me, Ellen Kamhi, the natural nurse, for another edition of Herbally Yours, right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. You can listen to us on air or online at iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn app, smart speakers, nccradio.org, or on our own award-winning WHPC app. Herbally Yours brings you the latest information about the many facets in the world of natural living. Today, I am so happy to have on board with us Dr. Rudrani Banik, who is a medical doctor, double board certified ophthalmologist, and integrative practitioner with over 25 years of experience. Her mission is to empower and inspire individuals worldwide to prioritize their eye health through the power of nutrition and lifestyle. Dr. Banik has been featured as an expert on Good Morning America, The Today Show, The New York Times, CBS Evening News, and now she is with us today right here on Herbally Yours. She is also the author of a wonderful book called Beyond Carrots, Best Foods for Eye Health. And we're so happy to have her on board today as our guest. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Banik.
Oh, thank you so much, Ellen. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Let's go back in time and think about Dr. Rudrani, the little girl. What made you become a doctor?
Oh, my goodness. Now we're going back a long ways, but I grew up in a household where my family was in the medical field, and my father is a physician, and he no longer is working, he's retired, but he worked in the emergency department. So I would, grow up kind of seeing him do many shifts, like back to back, and helping people and saving people's lives. And I decided, okay, I think I want to do what he's doing. I want to help people and improve their lives. So at a very early age, I kind of thought I was going to be a doctor. I got a little bit sidetracked in high school and undergrad. At one point, I thought I would want to be an astronomer. But then I soon found out that I couldn't do the math or the physics to be an astronomer. So then my default was going to medical school. So that's kind of my story of how I ended up in medicine.
Well, I like that story. Let me ask you this. Are you still interested in even just sky watching?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I love it. We have a telescope at home, and I look up at the stars on a clear night, and it's just fascinating. I love astronomy. Maybe someday I'll get back to it. But again, I'm not cut out to be a career astronomer.
Well, that's okay. And we're lucky to have you as a doctor. Now, beyond being a doctor, what made you have a focused interest on ophthalmology and eye health?
Well, when I was in medical school, I actually shadowed physicians just to see what different people were doing. So I shadowed a primary care doctor, a pediatrician, a cardiologist, et cetera, dermatologist. And, I enjoyed all those rotations, seeing what other doctors were doing. But it was really ophthalmology that drew me, because I spent the day shadowing a family friend who was an ophthalmologist. And I went to the operating room with him. I watched him do cataract surgeries. I saw him in clinic, and he was treating children as young as, less than 1 year old, all the way up to their 80s and 90s. So I love that there is this range of different patients that we can treat in ophthalmology. Anyone can have an eye problem, and you can take care of that range. And also you can really have an impact on people's lives. For example, being able to restore someone's vision using cataract surgery and giving them back their independence, being able to read again and drive and see faces. It was really very rewarding to have that type of an impact by taking care of people's vision. So I love it. It's just a wonderful field.
Well, I must say that I've been in the medical field too, actually, my whole life. So since 1973, I've been a nurse. And in terms of eye health, I have to say that cataract surgery has really come a long way. And I think when we look at all kinds of surgeries, we have to balance the positive effects of the outcome with positive negative effects of going through the surgery. And it seems like cataract surgery is just a winner. I mean, there's very, very little adverse effects. There's always a possibility. But it's amazing the way I'm thinking of my parents, because they both had cataract surgery when they were in early 90s. Now they're like mid 90s. So their eye health was great until then. They started wearing glasses they didn't want to. And they immediately did not have to wear glasses anymore at such an advanced age.
Yeah, it really is phenomenal, the technology that's evolved around cataract surgery, the instruments that we use, and also the types of implants that are now available that, weren't really even available, like the really advanced implants, the premium lenses that allow people to see at distance, intermediate, for example, the computer and reading, and many times be glasses free. So it's phenomenal. And it is a very common procedure. I would say it's probably the most common procedure performed around the world. Electively, and it has a really high success rate. So I know a lot of people are a little bit hesitant about having cataract surgery, but it can really improve the quality of your life by so much. I think it's definitely worth exploring. And both of my parents have had cataract surgeries, and they're just in such a better place now because they can see.
Yeah.
They have that ability to see again, which is phenomenal.
Right, with minor downtime time. I mean, they were gone for the day and came home, not like weeks and weeks and weeks of rehab. So it's just amazing. I'm hoping I don't have to have it done anytime soon, but if I did, it is something that I would definitely choose to do. And it's great that you focused on that and many other things in eye health. For instance, you are a neuro-ophthalmologist. So that's something people may not have heard of. What is that specialty, Dr. Rani?
Yeah, so there aren't that many of us neuro-ophthalmologists, but we merged the two fields of ophthalmology and neurology. So there's a very intimate connection between our visual system and our brains, because the eye is a direct extension of the brain. But also, this is a crazy statistic, over 50% of our brain is dedicated to our visual system, how we process vision, how we process color, how we recognize written language or faces, how we move our eyes, how we move our eyelids. So a lot of our brain is dedicated to our eyes. And so my field really brings the two together. And oftentimes I deal with neurologic conditions that have vision issues. For example, multiple sclerosis can be associated with vision loss or double vision. Strokes in the brain can cause vision loss, tumors of the brain. So these are some more serious types of neurologic issues that can cause vision problems. But also there are many other types of conditions that can have visual consequences. For example, migraine. Migraine is a brain issue, but it can cause a lot of visual symptoms, whether it's flashing lights or light sensitivity. So this all falls under the purview of what I do as a neuro-ophthalmologist. And I love it. It's just fascinating. The eye is fascinating by itself, but when you combine it with the brain, it adds a whole new layer of intricacy, and it's really, really challenging, but very, very fulfilling.
But
very
you're really
rewarding.
able to help people. Let's talk a little bit about that color blindness. I actually have a friend. He's a brilliant scientist, Dr. Glenn Ryan, and he is just amazing. But I didn't even know, but one day we were walking around at a car show, and he said, I'm colorblind. What color is that car? He said, I could tell it's dark. I can tell it's not white or red. But he wouldn't know, like, if it was blue or dark blue or green. What is that about?
Yeah, so it's actually quite common, congenital color deficiency. And it's present more commonly in men than women. So 1 in 8 men have congenital color deficiency. I think the number is for women like 1 in 200 women. So it's much, much more common in men. And basically, it's not that people with color deficiency can't see colors at all. They just see colors differently. So for example, if they're looking at something red, it may not be bright red. They may see it as more of an orange hue. Or if they look at green, it may not look green. It may look slightly yellowish. So depending on the type of color issue, and this is a problem that can be traced back to the retina and how our cells in the retina pick up different wavelengths of color in color deficiency. But they see almost like a shifted pattern of colors. So it may be hard to kind of match socks, for example, or to pick up whether, if you're grocery shopping, whether a fruit is ripe or it's not ripe. It may be harder to tell for certain people with certain types of color deficiency, but it's very, very common.
Well, it's obviously not debilitating, but how does it get diagnosed? I imagine, is there a test for that when people are children? People ask them what color things on. Like, how would one find out?
Yeah, so typically most people don't know unless they go to the eye doctor and they actually get a color test. We have color plates that we use in the office. So there are different books that have different colored numbers or shapes. And we ask patients to identify if they can see the number or the shape. And based off of that, we can determine not only if they have a color deficiency, but what type of color deficiency it is. Is it a red-green deficiency? Is it a blue-yellow deficiency? So there are various different categories, but you may suspect that you have color deficiency. Let's say if you have trouble, matching clothes or finding matching pairs of socks, etc. But it's really best if you suspect it to go to the eye doctor and get formally tested.
That's information that I don't think everybody hears all the time. So thank you so much. And I do want to reintroduce our guest. And I want to thank you for listening to Herbally Yours on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. Listen live online at nccradio.org or on iHeartRadio or any venue of your choice. We're on all the podcasts. For more information, you can always email us at whpc@ncc.edu. And today, our guest is Dr. Rudrani Banik, who is a medical doctor, and we're talking about her book as well, which is called Beyond Carrots, Best Foods for Eye Health, A to Z. So, Dr. Banik, what made you move into more of a natural nutritional approach to eye health?
Yeah, I love this question because the truth is, in most medical schools, nutrition is not taught. And when I think back to my medical school training, I love my medical school, by the way, but we only got about 4 hours of nutrition. And it was barely kind of understanding what are fats, carbohydrates, proteins, and what are some common nutritional deficiencies. But that was about it. So I never was fully taught. And it wasn't until I had my own health issue that I really started to pay attention to nutrition and take a deep dive into nutrition. So if you'd like, I can share my story very quickly with you.
Yes, you can. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So basically, about 8 years ago, I developed very severe chronic migraine. Now, I'd had migraines since my early 20s, but I would get sporadic migraines. But there was a point in my life about 8 years ago when a lot of things were happening at once. I was under a lot of stress, and I had a migraine every single day. And if you've ever had a migraine, you know that is not fun. It's really difficult to function. So I had still with this migraine every day. I had to go to work. I had to take care of my family. It was a very, very stressful time. And I tried all the medications out there for migraine, and nothing was helping. And after a couple of years, I said, you know what? I have to find a better solution. And then I started to do my own research, my own digging. And what I found was that certain foods can be triggers for migraine, and then eliminating other foods can help with migraine. I found the benefits of nutrients, supplements like magnesium, riboflavin. So, it was really shocking that none of my doctors, and I'd been to several migraine specialists, none of them had ever asked me about my nutrition, what I was eating, what I was, drinking. I was having 8 to 12 caffeinated drinks a day. So, just that self-discovery of the importance of nutrition, seeing my own health change once I started to implement changes in my diet. And I'll tell you, this is kind of, I cringe when I think about this, but I was the worst junk food junkie you can imagine. For years, before I realized the importance of nutrition, I lived off of a diet of pizza, ice cream, and diet soda. That was my diet almost every single day. And
well, you and a lot of people, I mean, as shocking as it is, and what you just shared is so amazing and so common, because I've been doing integrative wellness since 1972, long before that word was even invented. And I still find how shocking it is, like what you said, that doctors are not taught nutrition, even though everything you're talking about in your book, Beyond Carrots, is evidence-based.
Yes, it's unfortunate, and I do hope that things change. I hope that there's more of a focus on nutrition and lifestyle in the medical field for all aspects of medicine. I mean, I'm talking about eye health, but it's so important for cardiovascular health, for brain health, for skin health, for immune system health. So overall, nutrition, I think, is the cornerstone of our health, and it really guides the trajectory of our wellness journey. So I think, I hope other doctors and other healthcare providers will also be open to including some of these types of recommendations for their patients, because I think it's just so, so important. And this is what you've dedicated so much of your career to, but you're so well ahead of the curve. Most people in healthcare don't know this.
I know, it's awful. But what a great name for your book. How did you come up with that? Because carrots is certainly one vegetable that a lot of people recognize as being linked to eye health, even though, as you said, that's just one of many.
Yeah, I think that there's this kind of urban myth that's been propagated that if you just eat some carrots, your eyes will be fine. I think many of us have probably heard that from either our parents or our grandparents. And I don't want to say it's a complete myth. There is some truth to that. The carrots are important. They provide beta carotene, which gets converted into vitamin A, and we need vitamin A for our retinal health and our corneal health. But there are so many other nutrients that are important. And this is what I really wanted to drive home with my book, is the fact that it's not just a single nutrient or a single food that's going to keep your eyes healthy. You need to have a diversity. You need to have a wide range of nutrients. And in part one of my book, I talk about the 30 different nutrients we need to keep our eyes healthy. And then in part two, I talk about the 40 different foods that provide those nutrients. So really you don't need to remember or memorize the name of all the nutrients and all the foods, but just keep in mind the strategies of having a diversity of foods and also having lots of plants in your diet. Now, this is something I was certainly missing for most of my young adulthood life, where all I really ate was pizza and ice cream. But having a lot of plants, not just, putting a little bit of tomato on your sandwich or your burger, or having a little bit of lettuce, that's not enough. You really need to have, and this may be shocking to some people, but I tell people you need to strive for 5 cups of fruits and veggies and other grains a day in your diet, and seeds and nuts and all of that. So plant-rich foods in your diet will help you preserve your eyes. So again, that's kind of the take-home message in my book that I hope people will resonate with. I know it's kind of a lot for some people to make that switch, but try to make it slowly and make it a habit.
Yeah, it's really important. And one way I find that makes that easy, with everybody's lifestyle being so filled with where it's much easier to run out and get a pizza, which I have actually never eaten in my life, and believe it or not. But just having food prepared ahead of time to where, like what I do is make steamed vegetables, and it looks like a rainbow in there. There might be kale and zucchini and carrots, and I even throw some cranberries in at the end, and it'll just be very colorful. And then I keep it in the fridge, and that I will warm up along with lean meat that I pre-cook also, or I take it with me in a glass container. So every day when I walk out the door, then you don't have to run in and get just the quick standard American diet junk food. You have to be prepared.
Yeah, I love that so much. It's so important, especially with our hectic lives, is meal planning and meal prep. And if you have time on the weekend, maybe you do it then, or maybe there's one day of the week when you have a lighter day, try to get a lot of it done then. So for me, I cook on the weekends, and I try to make food or plan out the meals for the week. And it saves a lot of time, and it's healthier. So much healthier than eating out or buying processed food.
And cheaper, if people are complaining about it.
Yeah.
Really,
and I love
money.
what you said about the rainbow. So I actually talk about the rainbow also in my book. It's actually, I think it's on page 18, where I give the 4 strategies.
Oh, let's talk about that. So this is our own guest for today, Dr. Rudrani Banik, and she's going to be sharing some great information about her book, Beyond Carrots, Best Foods for Eye Health, A to Z. So tell us about those strategies that you lay out in your book.
Absolutely. So one strategy I mentioned earlier, so strategy number 1 is to eat a plant-rich diet. And notice that I'm not saying plant-based. You do not have to go vegan. You do not have to be vegetarian, but really make plants the staple in your diet. So, if you're choosing, what to put on your plate, half of your plate should be plants, and eat that first before you eat your protein source or your carbohydrate. So number 1, eat a plant-rich diet. Number 2, eat the rainbow and try to get multiple colors of the rainbow. So one quick kind of a tip that I give my patients is most people eat 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. So that's 21 meals in the week. And so what you should try to strive for is in those 21 meals, try to include 21 different colors during the week. And then you're eating a rainbow of 21 colors. And all of those colors are providing your eyes with the important nutrients that they need. So different shades of green and red and orange and yellow, purples, blues, even blacks. Try to include, I know black is not part of the rainbow, but try to include the whole range of colors and rotate through them. So don't just eat the same color every single day, the same food. I mean, it's great that if you eat spinach or kale, but have different types of vegetables that give you different shades of green. So diversity is really, really important. So those are my top 2 tips in terms of eating an eye healthy diet. And then I have a couple more tips I can share as well. But yeah, it's not that hard to do if you pre-plan it. It's all about planning ahead.
That's true. Because otherwise, like you were busy. You were in medical school. You were a busy person. And so, of course, you were grabbing the pizza and the bagel and, whatever else you were eating, a cup of coffee to try to stay up while you're having a migraine headache. I mean, and you actually were forced because of a personal health challenge. And I find so many medical doctors who have moved into integrative care was not because of anything they learned during their training, which is excellent for other reasons, but not so great in nutrition, but because of personal challenges for themselves, their children, their parents, or someone they loved in their life who weren't getting anywhere with regular conventional therapies.
Yes, I've definitely found that in the integrative and functional medicine community. Everyone has a story, whether it's their own personal story with a health challenge or a family member, a loved one. That's usually the impetus for people to seek out a different way of approaching health. And, it's unfortunate that we have to go through some personal pain and struggle in order to discover this, but I'm so glad that I did, because otherwise I never would have heard about functional medicine, integrative medicine. It just was not taught. So I think raising awareness is key. And that's what I hope to do with my book is written in pretty straightforward language. It is meant for the public, but also with my book, I wanted to educate my colleagues in the eye care world, both ophthalmologists and optometrists, that, unfortunately we were never taught. So what are some of these foods that are nutrient rich, and how much should we be eating, and how should we be counseling our patients about diet and eye health? So it's really a mission of mine now, is to spread the news and spread awareness.
Well, let's talk about supplements, because I know in your book you also do share about eye supplements, which ones might be good, what people might want to look for, and would they be part of a multivitamin? So what do you talk about in Beyond Carrots?
Yeah, so in part 4, I do talk about supplements. And the reason why this chapter evolved was because as I was doing the research for my book about the various nutrients in various foods, I also came across some compelling published articles that showed that the nutrient density of our current foods, that we get from the farm, natural foods, is not as rich as it used to be, let's say back in the 1930s or 1940s or 1950s. So research studies have shown that our soil has been depleted of nutrients. So even though you think you may be eating a very nutritious diet, a healthy diet, a whole foods diet, it's just the quality is not as good. So there are gaps. And, you may not be getting enough magnesium or vitamin C, or for eye health, you may not be getting the appropriate amount of lutein or zeaxanthin. So that's where supplementation comes in. It comes in to fill in these gaps in our diet. It's not a substitute by any means. And that's really what I want people to understand is don't just take a pill to correct for any deficiencies in your diet. Work on your diet first. Get that as good as you can get it. And then add in some of the supplements. And so I actually ended up curating my own line of supplements, because what I researched on, that's available, I looked at over 50 different supplements on the market. And what I realized is that no one particular brand or formulation really has everything I thought should be included in an eye health supplement. So in my line, for example, the multivitamin, it's called Nourish. It has the regular, B vitamins, C, D, minerals, etc. But it also has bioflavonoids and polyphenols that have been shown to help with eye health. So yeah, these supplements are curated for eye health, whether it's, for macular degeneration or dry eye or cataracts or glaucoma. Each of the supplements has unique ingredients that can help support your eyes and your also your brain health, because again, the eyes are connected to the brain. So I think of it as one unit, like a system.
So is there a website or Facebook or somewhere that you'd like to give out where people can find out more about Dr. Rudrani Banik, your work, your book, and other information?
Absolutely. So you can go to my website, which is my full name, rudranibanikmd.com, and then you can do / Beyond Carrots, and you can see my book. My book is available on Amazon, so if you just look up Beyond Carrots, Rani Banik, it'll show up. Also, I'm very active on social. So if you're interested, if you're on Facebook, I have a couple of Facebook groups you can join. One is called Envision Health, where I talk about all kinds of eye health tips. Another is the macular degeneration prevention Facebook group. And I'm also on Instagram and YouTube. So you can find me in lots of places. And I look forward to connecting with any of your listeners. Maybe if you have any questions, feel free to send them along. And I also do some lives on Instagram and Facebook. So you can also connect with me there.
That's really great information, because unfortunately, how prevalent are eye challenges?
So common. Oh my goodness. I wish this weren't the case, but most people at some point in their lives will have an eye issue. I mean, whether it's in childhood or later on in life, whether it's needing glasses or having dry eyes or being diagnosed with an eye, condition, most people will come across an eye problem at some point. So it's better to be proactive about it and try to prevent it from happening. And I can't stress this enough. Nutrition is the cornerstone of preventing eye disease. So I really hope that people consider eating some of the foods that I talk about in my book and making that a habit for a lifelong healthy vision.
So much so, even like with dry eyes, very often people aren't getting just enough omega-3s. So there's a lot we can do. And I'm so happy that you were our guest today. So thank you for being part of our show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share some of this information, because I do think knowledge is power. So if you don't know, it's, the first step is just to know and understand, and you can make decisions going forward.
And take action. So thank you, listeners, so much for tuning into Herbally Yours, produced in the studios of 90.3 WHPC, Nassau Community College, Garden City, New York. For further information, email whpc@ncc.edu. This is your host, Ellen Kamhi. You can find me at naturalnurse.com, inviting you to join us next week for another edition of Herbally Yours. Until then, stay healthy.